Split is a thriller film directed by M. Night Shyamalan and stars James McAvoy, and the film is about a man with 23 different personalities who abducts 3 girls. Now, M. Night Shyamalan has been regarded as not a great filmmaker. Like, he's made very few good films. Like, in my opinion, there are only 2 films of his that I truly love, and that's Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. Those 2 are my absolute favorite of his. And then every other film he's made has been dog shit. Signs, The Village, Lady in the Water, Happening, Last Airbender, After Earth, and The Visit. All of them were shit and I hated them so much. This one I really had doubts about, because the first time I saw the trailer and I saw James McAvoy in a dress, I was just like, no, 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 because it looked stupid. But then in the months leading up to the film, I started to turn my brain on. So after I really thought about it, I was really looking forward to it, even though some of the stuff in the trailer did look a bit silly, and I was just like, okay. So yeah, I went to go see it, and I liked it very much. Yes, there is some stupid shit in it, but for the most part, it was a good movie. And before I start this review, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you don't want me to spoil anything about this film, back away from the video now. Other than that, let's get into it. So yeah, the basic premise of the film is about a man who has 23 distinct personalities who kidnaps these 3 girls and is basically planning to feed them to a 24th personality, which is simply called the Beast. Before I get into what I liked, I'll get into what I didn't like. The supporting actors and characters were horseshit, basically. These are some of the most obnoxious and most annoying performances you will ever see. For example, 2 of the 3 girls who were kidnapped, man, they are annoying. These 2 play right up to their stereotype. And there's even more supporting characters that annoyed the shit out of me, but I'm not going to go too much into them because, for the most part, they were good. It was just these 2 girls that pissed me off. Another thing that bothered me was the writing. The writing was not great. Like, in some parts it worked. When the therapist was talking to James McAvoy's character about his multiple personalities, that was interesting. But then you get scenes where the writing should have been better, and it just wasn't. Another thing that bothered me was there was a constant thing that happened throughout the movie where the movie would go into a flashback of when one of the main girls was a child and just like interacting with her father and her uncle. And at first, I didn't see the point, and by the end of the film, I still didn't see the point of it. And that's another one of the film's weaknesses. A lot of it doesn't make sense, and a lot of the people I was in the cinema with were confused. They had no idea what was going on. And if the writing were better, maybe people could have understood the film better. But the film expects you to know, oh, this is what happens, or this is what's going to happen. This film expects you to know what is going on, and that's its biggest problem. And one more thing I had a problem with before I get into the good stuff is James McAvoy's performance. Let me make it clear. James McAvoy has the best role in this movie, and he gives the best performance. Because it was fascinating seeing James McAvoy playing these different personalities, it's just that some of the personalities that were being played by James McAvoy weren't that interesting. And he plays a majority of these personalities way over the top, and that's kind of what killed it for me a little bit. But I'm going to get into the good stuff, and right off the bat, James McAvoy, like I said, gives the best performance in the film. And yes, even though some of the personalities he plays are over the top and just, like, kind of a bit shocking, I think he did a good job. Because again, he's playing 24 different personalities. However, and unfortunately, just quickly, you don't see every personality in the film. You only see mainly 4 of them, which is weird because the posters stated that the character of Kevin has 23 distinct personalities, and yet the film mainly focuses on 4 of them. The stuff this film executes well is the technical stuff. The camera shots and angles are fascinating to look at, and the pacing for the film was really good. Not once throughout the film was I ever bored. I was always fascinated. In fact, some of the scenes where the therapist talks to James McAvoy, you would expect those scenes to be really boring, but they're the most fascinating parts because it is talking about multiple personalities, and that was really interesting. And one point I really want to talk about is the ending. I love this ending, and fair warning, there is going to be a huge spoiler here. Basically, in every Shyamalan film, you always expect a twist ending, and throughout the entire runtime of this film, I was on the lookout for the twist. I was just like, okay, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And this twist came out of nowhere, and I wasn't expecting it, and I loved it. Basically, with Kevin's 24th personality, this personality is the Beast, and this personality is super strong, cannot be harmed, can climb walls. He's basically a superhuman. What was the other Shyamalan film that had a character that was invulnerable to damage and was super strong? That other film was Unbreakable, and as soon as the credits rolled, they played this music and I was just like, this sounds familiar. And then I was like, holy shit, it's the Unbreakable theme. And then the final shot of the film is a cameo by Bruce Willis playing his role from Unbreakable. But apparently from what I've been hearing, there is a bit of a mixed feeling towards this ending. Some people didn't like it, some people did. I'm one of those who did. And I think I know why people didn't like the ending, and that's because they didn't see Unbreakable. In fact, when the movie ended in the cinema I was in, someone just said, what the hell was that? And in the car, I actually had to think about it, and I was just like, the reason people didn't like the ending was because they didn't understand what it was or why Bruce Willis was in the film. And apparently from what I've been reading, Split is a thematic sequel to Unbreakable, which means they are related somehow. And I already knew this fact going into the film, but I didn't know how related these two films are until the ending. And it's definitely in the ending that cements that these two films are in the same universe together. Overall, this was a great film. Some parts of it could have been better. The writing could have been better, the supporting characters could have been better. But what the film gets right is the technical stuff, James McAvoy's performance, and the story. And it's a really good story and a really good concept as well. However, if you do intend to see this film, fair warning, it might be a bit of a weird film because even though this film is a thriller horror film, there are comedy bits in the film. So if you haven't seen this film but you want to see it, fair warning, it can be a bit of a comedy at some points in the film, but it really doesn't hurt the film at all. So overall, I would still recommend it. There are parts that are really good, but then there are parts that are But I would still call this a great film. It's not a fantastic film, but I think it's Shyamalan's third best film because, like I said, there's only been 2 films of his that I've really liked, and every other film he's done I've hated so much. This is one of those rare Shyamalan films where I was just like, this is actually really, really, really good. And I'm going to give Split a 7 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel below. As always, I'm the NETX5. Thank you so much for watching.